Hi everyone, and welcome to the TomWasHere Halloween Haunts channel. We got another one for you. This is a haunted house review. It's actually the first time we've ever been, and it's a new haunt in the area. It's Portals of Fear in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. Now, we're getting it into admission prices. Tickets for this experience are $20. And the one thing about this one is this is an all-charity haunt. You may have heard things where people have haunts that benefit charity. This one fully benefits charity. That money goes to the church. The church goes on missions with this money, and they take it to, I believe, Tennessee, and they build houses for people less fortunate, something like that. So definitely a noble cause for sure. All the actors are volunteer. All the work that they put in to get this haunt through is all volunteer. So a lot of effort being put into this for this charity hunt, and all proceeds from the food they sell, from everything, I believe everything, goes to the church for these missions. So really cool on their part to have an all charity haunt. And I'll be honest, look, let me give you a little backstory on this. I grew up in North Braddock, Pennsylvania, in the First Ward, and I lived on a hill, and then there was a street that came catty corner to kind of my house, like here. That at the top of that street was a church, and that church had a Halloween event. You may have heard of it if you're familiar. It was called Hell Stop. They don't do it anymore, I don't believe. They did do it for a while, and it was very popular. What it was, from what I remember, was it was a haunted house run by the church, and they would show, I believe, graphic images of drunk driving accidents. And the idea was that you were in a drunk driving accident and you died, and you had a choice to go to heaven or hell. The people that chose hell, there was a hell, but then they would give you pamphlets saying why you shouldn't have chose hell, that it's not the right way. So it basically became like a moral lesson more than it was a haunted house. Let's put it that way. And so when I heard of Portals of Fear, and that it was in a former Catholic school right next to a Catholic church, and that all the proceeds went to the church, that in my mind, I thought Hell Stop. And I talked to a friend about this, a friend who didn't live anywhere near where I lived, and I was telling him about this church putting on this thing, and he went, "Oh, you meant hell? Hell Stop?" And he knew exactly what I was talking about. Apparently, when he was younger, he was super religious, and they actually would bus people to Hell Stop to go through this haunted house experience in North Braddock. But so the good news I can tell you is that Portals of Fear is not that. There's no underlying preachy message that's taking away from their haunted house. Because the one thing I can say about personally, and I'll say this personally, when it comes to movies, TV, stuff like that, whenever they're hammering home a message, but they're sacrificing the story to hammer home this like preachy message, I understand the reasoning, but you're cheapening the entertainment experience. If I'm going there into a haunted house, I don't necessarily need like some underlying message about my life at that point. So I can tell you Portals of Fear is not that. It is, like I said, all charity haunt, proceeds benefit charity, awesome. Everything about that's awesome. But it's definitely, when you get into the haunt experience, you find out right away that while they are leaning in at times to that, the fact that they are in a former Catholic school, it's not something where they are forcing a message on you, which I appreciate. Outside of before you go into the haunt, it basically shows, the idea of it is that each section you go into is a different portal, and it plays on a certain fear. And they have a detailed description of each portal and the breakdown of it, and I film through them. You can pause it if you'd like to check out what each of those stand for. And then there's a main story. A significant amount of time was put into each of these little story themes and the main story arc. I do like that they have the story arcs out on display, but I feel like certain people could miss that. Even though they're pretty big and presented or whatever, if there was a better way to present that story, and that's such a minor gripe, but I mean, just if there's a better way to kind of present the story for each, house. I don't know if there is, without obviously putting significantly more, budget into to the type of thing, like in terms of like maybe like a video or something like that. But that would also make it tough too, because then you're watching like 8 different videos on something. I read through them, and it was really cool to, kind of see like what you're getting into at these things. But I will say, for me, I read them after the fact. I filmed them because the idea with me with haunted houses, especially new haunted houses, is I want to walk in completely blind. I want to react in the moment to what I'm getting into. So I did read them after the fact. Like, I paused the videos and was looking over the stories, and do really like what they did with the stories there. It was really, really cool. But yeah, then you're sent on your way, and you're sent into kind of the head nun's office, of which she's setting up the ground rules for the haunt. And that lady is fabulous. I mean, I bought in, and I know my son bought in. My son's going through high school now, and he never had I never had the pleasure of going into a Catholic school with nuns, but have heard stories of people that did. Didn't sound fun. And she hammered that home. She was every stereotypical, angry, evil nun. She was great. But the crazy thing is that the vast majority of the characters in Portals of Fear are children. They're teenagers, children, something like that. And they did great. They did really, really great. Like I said, they were doing a pretty darn good job there. You sometimes wonder when, with younger actors, stuff like that, but man, there are a lot of them that did really, really, really good. As you go through from the nun's office, you run into this thing and you walk into your first portal, which is almost looks like it looks like if you ever seen Stargate, it has like the big like thing, and then you walk through it, and I would assume that is your first portal. It would have been kind of cool, and once again, a minor gripe as well, if each of the sections had that to reflect that you were going into a new portal, or just something to reflect that you were going from portal to portal. Not that it has to. It doesn't have to. I don't think it has to. There were a couple times when you'd hit a turn, or you'd go into this area where you didn't realize you went into it until you were in that world. A minor gripe, once again, 2 minor gripes, but just for me, that would be something that I would do. Maybe have something else that kind of represents that it's a portal. I know at like 100 Acres Manor, like when in the theme sections, they have a very large hallway with lights, and that represents that you're going into a new section. Portals of Fear does not have to do that, but just maybe a little something that says you're going from this area to the area. But the theming was great. Obviously you're in a school building. So they've made it look like, in certain sections, like a cemetery, like a back alley, like a storage facility, like a clown, like a clown show, all types of different stuff. So kudos to them for putting in that level of detail. And, beyond the nun itself, what really kind of hammered home for me that this was not Hellstop, and was not something that was, going to be this was just going to be a strictly haunted house experience, is the alleyway, which fairly early on you do get into an alley. And in that alley, there's graffiti all over the walls, including some that, reference things that, at least unless it was something else, reference things that you would see in an alley, but you wouldn't see, in a Catholic school haunted house, or at least ones I didn't expect to. And then the scare actor's on the ground, and he's like a bum character, but he's got like an empty bottle of Tito's next to him. And it's like, wow, this is like, we're not, this is definitely not going to be the, it's going to be, you're getting into a real experience here. I was like, okay, that's cool. And that dude did great. That dude in the alleyway, I'll give him props too, that he did great. I still don't know what he was asking for. at first I thought it was just change, like spare some change or whatever. But I believe I believe he was saying pop tabs, and in his can was a pop tab, which is what you open a can with, like it was pop tab, because I saw it in the can, and in my mind that's what I thought he was. But he was saying something else. Still don't know what it was, and I didn't have any on me, unfortunately. But I will say that in that alleyway, there were a couple things that, obviously there was like, a dumpster, there were some cans or whatever, there was a car, and I didn't expect someone to jump out at me from under the car, because anything that runs out under, when you don't see it lower, you know what I mean? I just wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting it. And they had a lot of very effective jump scares in Portals of Fear. The car one, there was one in the dumpster in the alley. There's a clown portion where the clown runs out and has, I think it's like an air horn. I mean, he runs out and then, and it's loud. It is loud. And so I didn't expect that. There were several actors that did stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there were also quite a few actors that were in peril. I think my son at one point, he's like, wow, there's so many people to save in this one. There's people that are, stuck in rooms, they're chained to walls, they're attached to chairs, they're being sacrificed. So many people that needed saving in the various portals that we unfortunately could not save. I come up with an idea that if I'm holding the camera, I'm doing something, so the person with me has to save them, because I can't do it, because I'm documenting. I'm Anderson Cooper at this point. I'm simply documenting the events. I can't save you. I'm here to document. I'm not here to save your life. That's my way. That's the way I do things. But yeah, so I really enjoyed some of the themes that they put in there. There were some also, like I said, some really good actors in the cemetery. I'm trying not to highlight everybody, but just the ones I remember that were like super notable. In the cemetery, there was a bride. She was very upset. And she had some cool makeup on too, where like her arms were like black, like they started to go like black, like they were like decaying, which was pretty cool. And yeah, they said they put a pretty good bit of detail into this haunt, where there were especially certain areas where you really felt immersed in the world. And it was really cool to see, especially with a new haunt, especially with a new old school haunt that's volunteer based. So like they're putting in the time and effort, from everybody from their usual 9-to-5 jobs, they're putting in the effort to attempt to make this into, what they did. And I gotta give them credit, kudos to this for, it's definitely like an old school feel. They don't have any, what I would call the Spirit Halloween animatronics, because that's such an easy thing. Like if you're a haunt starting out, that's probably the first place you go, is like Spirit Halloween, and get like a couple things that, go off or whatever. They had none of that. They had their own homegrown props and stuff. I didn't see anything that I saw, at certain other haunts where they, add any like licensed characters or anything like that, because that's also an easy thing to do. You have your own original characters in something, or you have like Freddy Krueger music, or Halloween, Halloween the movie music, or Jason the movie music, and you have a Jason character. That's such an easy thing to do, but it's also, it's cool for them to blaze an original trail. I have no problem with that, versus something where they could just like, oh, hey, here's Freddy Krueger chasing you. Which, don't get me wrong, they could do that as well, but there's places like Halloween Horror Nights that use licensed IPs to great effect. So you don't necessarily want to compete, be in the same realm as somebody like that when you're putting on an old school haunt. So I was fine with them doing that thing. Probably the most unique scene that I can honestly say I've never seen in a haunted house before, and I like this. I felt there might be a slightly, and once again, me truly nitpicking. They had what is a Storage Wars type scene where this lady was auctioning off storage containers that have been abandoned. And the one storage container you purchased, and she's like, yeah, root around in there. And then you find out when you go through the storage container that it's then a portal into this, darker world. It would have been cool to have something where you had to kind of like, and this would be tough. This is more like a my mind thing. Because when you walk behind it was like a big dresser, there was just like a little opening where you could then walk through. But if there was a way where it looked like a full storage thing, and there was some way where you had to like go through this like more narrow thing, maybe even crawl through, like if it was just all this stuff and it had like a little area in between all this like stored items, that would have been really cool. But even so, it was effective here as well. And then, of course, they have the clown theme sections. They have, other various themes that, they had like the old cabin early on that was really well themed and well decorated. Like I said, they put a ton of effort into this to make this work. So I give them all the credit for, because I give them extra credit. Because it's one thing when you've been a haunt for a while, you're obviously doing this for some profit. You're paying your actors and stuff. And trust me, that, paying out all the stuff you have to pay out. I'm sure you have to insure it. I'm sure all that stuff. There's a lot of expenses having to go into, putting together a haunted house. But if somebody's doing this just for charity, they're not making a dime off it, and the level of detail they put into this, kudos on them. They did great. But yeah, I'm just, I ramble on here as things pop in my head. I go through there. But went into the clown section, and there was a little girl in there. She was really little, like noticeably little. Like some of the kids, obviously you could tell that they were kids, like teenagers or whatever. This kid was way smaller. Like this is maybe like 10, something like that, if I had to guess. And I was filming, and she's like, "Oh, you're filming, huh? So you get to film your own death." I mentioned this in the video, but I didn't expect it from her. I did not expect that from her. Kudos to her for, as someone who has done a little scare acting this season, to come up with something quick on the spot there. Great job. That was awesome. Because yeah, she did. And then something happened where like she was then like sacrificed. Like she was like bouncing around. She somehow got like not sacrificed, but she was in peril. Like so many other people were in peril. But then at the end, when we were walking back down the stairs from the clown portion, her and the two other clowns gathered at the top of the stairs to watch us go down. That was really cool as well. Because usually stairs are like, Jacob the Carpetbagger type reference. There's no scares on stairs. But you don't have to effectively scare. You just stand there, look menacingly enough, or just peer down on you as you walk. That certainly sets up an image. You know what I mean? You don't have to scare people. You just have to be present. Like I said, sometimes it works effectively. It did here. But I found out, because like I said, I really went into this blind and nothing going in, is that this has 3 floors. And on the bottom floor, you meet like their big monster. It's not exactly the devil, but, kind of something like that. And, there's a cool effect where he stands up from the chair and he's pretty significantly tall. You know what I mean? Like significantly tall. So it's like it's like a look up, menacingly look up to that in the basement. And then they had another character that was doing like the slide thing and slid a significant distance towards us that I only caught partially on camera because I was looking back at the devil character. But yeah, I mean, they had a lot of fun coming up with some, kind of cool, unique things in this environment. And, it wasn't like a terrifically long haunted house, like your standard usual, about 20 minutes, something like that. And then they have a cool midway with a bunch of different food options. They had a bar. With like Jello shots and some drinks. I noticed there were some ticket raffles. A raffle, win a basket. There was a few other things I noticed, like maybe like a game or two over there. There were some kids throwing around a football. And they have the Annie Ann's truck there all season. Now, they only have limited dates. They're only open the next couple weekends. But Annie Ann's pretzels, who can say no? We certainly grabbed some. You may have known of the Haunted Housewives Facebook page. And I met those ladies at Infernum a couple years or last year, I think. No, I met them for Lights Out. So earlier this year, I think it was Lights Out in Infernum, and been following their page, and they give these great descriptions of all these things. Where I read their one on Portals of Fear, and they're like, oh, there's also a hayride you can add on, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. That shows how naive I was. I didn't even know there was a hayride portion. If you're going there just for the haunt and grab some food, have a drink or whatever, get some Annie Ann's, that's a fun night. It's a cool, they put together a nice little atmosphere there, especially for like a newer haunt, because I noticed there's certain haunts I've gone to that, when I went, back in 2020 or the first year I went to go check out the haunt, it was just the haunt and they had nothing else. And as the years have gone on, they have added more to keep you there. People, when they go out now, they want a full-time experience. So if you go through a haunted house, when you leave the haunted house, they want to play some games, they want to eat some food, they want to sit there and relax, talk about their experience in the haunted house, or just maybe catch up with people that they walk through the haunted house with. Portals of Fear put together a nice environment for you to be able to do that. So I like what they're doing with this, and I'm looking forward to checking them out next year. They seem to be expanding and getting bigger every year, and kudos to them. I had an awesome time at this one. Thanks so much to Chuck, the team, the ticket takers who were very friendly, everybody in the cast and crew for putting on an awesome job for me at Portals of Fear. I really, really enjoyed my experience there. The other thing, I meant to mention this, and I'll do this to close it out. This year, a couple of different places, I have said, hey, can I use the light? Because I've noticed that obviously I use my iPhone. Portals of Fear, I can unequivocally say, is the brightest haunt I've ever been to by a considerable margin. I don't even think I needed the light. Maybe in like a couple rare spots. It's very bright in there. It's not super dark at all. And there's not too many spaces that are super isolating and dark. Now, there's times that it can be darker, but it's not like dark. Like there's some of these haunts I'm into are dark. Like they're pitch black dark. And a light will be beneficial to that. Portals of Fear did not need the light. And I feel bad for blinding the nun at the beginning, and she called me out for blinding her, and I apologize for that. Because my intention is not to blind your actors. My intention is to get the best footage possible to put your actors in the best possible light. So, no, had a great time at Portals of Fear. Thanks so much to Chuck and the team for having me. It was really, really fun. I love checking out a new haunt. And I love that it had like an old school feel, but it had some really cool, unique elements and jump scares that I wasn't expecting. I really, really enjoyed my time at Portals of Fear. And you should definitely check it out in the last 2 weekends of haunt season. Would it be something that you necessarily could make a whole night out of it? Maybe, depending, like if you're going to go there, you're going to get some pretzels, you get some food, you're going to pop on a bench or something and talk it out. Yeah, you probably could. It's also something that's, near a couple different ones. If I know in my later portions of the season here, are going to be pulling some double duty at some haunts. It's one that could easily, jump to a couple different places that are fairly nearby, including Kennywood. Kennywood's only like a couple miles away. So even if you want to do Portals of Fear before Kennywood and then you went to Kennywood for Phantom Fall Fest, you could arguably do that and, make an evening out of it. So, that'll wrap it up. My experience at Portals of Fear, I had an absolute blast at this one. It's a fun, old school type thing, but the actors are spirited, and I'm impressed. They not only is everything go to charity, but the amount of work they put into for an all charity haunt is unbelievable. They did an awesome job there. But guys, thanks so much for watching. If you are new here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Like to support me on Patreon like John Bailey did. You can do so. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt, a TomWasHere t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, including a TomWasHere Halloween Haunts t-shirt, you can do so at Spreadshirt, as well as links to my eBay store, Facebook page, Instagram, TikTok, and the Pennsylvania Autograph Collectors Association. Links are in the description below. You still here? Do you like escape rooms? Unlock the Adventure Escape Experience has given me 2 tickets to give away for an escape room. They actually gave me 4 tickets to give away, but I'm doing them in pairs. So if you want to have a chance at either getting one of these pairs of tickets, the way you can do so is leave a comment on this video. Leave a comment on the TomWasHere Halloween Hunt, leave a comment on this video. Subscribe to the TomWasHere Halloween Haunts channel. Subscribe to the TomWasHere channel. Follow the TomWasHere Facebook page. Follow Unlock the Adventure Facebook page. Is that too much to ask? Perhaps. Yeah, I think you can do it. I feel confident in you can do it. We'll use it on the honor system. You don't necessarily have to follow those. It would be a lot cooler if you did. But yeah, and just leave in a comment, Unlock the Adventure, and you'll be entered to win 2 pairs of tickets. I'm going to keep this up for a week from the, when this video premieres here. Those 2 tickets will be given away prior to the end of October. Well, for 2 pairs of tickets, 4 in total, will be given away prior to the end of October. So just make sure to put that in the comments down below, or any other page, be it TomWasHere main page on one of the haunt videos, be it the TomWasHere Facebook page. You'll be entered into the thing. Do not do double entries. As long as you enter it in one place, I will see it and you will be entered. But guys, thanks so much for watching. And until the next haunted house review, discussion, my rambling nonsense, I will see you soon. But until then, bye everyone.